2006 by the military, and you are a direct beneficiary of that because you came to power without an election, and people don't like that.
That's not right. That's not right. Thaksin was removed from power. In fact, he was only an acting prime minister because elections were going to be held. And then after the coup, they had a referendum on the new constitution. A referendum passed that constitution. We had fresh elections. It returned a parliament that was a hung parliament, where actually, arguably, you could argue that Thaksin party actually took some of the minor parties who, during the elections, campaigned as people who defected from that party.
But you yourself have never won an election. You've never won an election.
And then there were...
You yourself have not won an election.
Parliament, it's up to parliamentarians. I've been elected 7 times as an MP, a few more times than Mr. Thaksin himself. And I've never actually missed a single election. I've contested in all elections that were fair. We boycotted 1 election, and as did all the other parties. It was a hung parliament. They put together a majority, but the party that had the biggest number of votes were involved in election fraud.
But you are
and therefore they were punished by laws and rules that they were aware of when they actually decided to take part in the election.
But you are now...
And then they had 2 chances of forming governments. It was taking the country nowhere.
Right.
So therefore there was a new vote in Parliament, and a majority of parliamentarians decided to decided to elect me into power.
It's very...
And Parliament has been functioning for
You've given
a
great deal of detail
a year and a
that.
half.
Okay.
The opposition had their chance of submitting the censure motion, and the motion was defeated.
Okay, that's a very
the majority
very
of
long
support this government.
All right, but the fact is, you preside over a very divided country. People who don't accept you for whatever reason, and you've gone into a very long explanation there. What are you going to do from here on? Because as I said to you, Thailand's top broker talks of civil war. We've got the red shirts saying they're going to now have public rallies continuing. What are you going to do, Prime Minister?
My intention is to bring all sides to accept that we need to find some kind of political solution. One that actually takes into account the views of all parts of society, that we will also make sure that we can enforce the law, that the demonstrators can go home, there is some kind of political solution, and that the law is enforced. That's what we're aiming to do, and I think that's important if Thailand is going to stay a democracy, one that is based on the rule of law.
And if you can't do that, I actually just want to end by telling you what Professor Titinan from Stanford University, Thai academic, says. If Abhisit Wettichiwa persists in his smug defiance, more violence and mayhem can be expected. His best bet is to set up an expeditious election timetable and bow out, perhaps followed by a break abroad for rehabilitation.
I can say that we are trying as best we can to restore order. I don't think it would be fair to the rest of the country if this government decides to give in to groups that use threats, violence, intimidation, and weapons. We are willing to listen to legitimate grievances. We are willing to compromise, but it has to be one that will serve the interests of everybody, not just a small group of people who resort to illegal tactics.
Abhisit Wettichiwa, if you truly believe that you yourself, personally, were an obstacle to Thailand recovering and getting some kind of stability, would you step down if you became a personal obstacle and you were convinced of that? Would you?
Of course. I've never put my interests above the country's.
So if, as a price for restoring stability to Thailand and trying to find some kind of political solution, which the head of the army, General Anupong, has said he wants, you would say, I will leave office. I will just step down.
We are in agreement at the moment that the problems we are seeing is not a purely political problem. There are security problems involved, there are terrorist elements involved, and we need to tackle all those issues at the same time. When we talk about the stability that everybody wants to achieve, it's not a short-term stability waiting for the same problem to be repeated again and again. I think at the moment all sides need to take into account the views of the other sides and find a reasonable solution. That's what I'm aiming for, and I'm sure that's what the majority of Thai people want us to do.
Prime Minister Abhisit Wettichiwa, thank you very much for coming on Hard Talk.
You're welcome.